radio on your local radio station, let them know. Tell them to check out www.nightdreamstalkradio.com, and thank you.
You're listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio After Dark with our host, Gary Anderson.
And I am back. Well, we're with Tom Davis, retired law enforcement. We were talking about elder abuse, domestic violence, and the situation, even what happened with me. But I will say this up before we get into our next subject here. If you are suffering, or a member of your family is suffering domestic violence, don't wait till somebody physically gets hurt, because it will happen. One of these days, it will happen. And if you don't do anything about it, you risk not just you maybe getting hurt or killed, your wife or some other member of your family. Be a man or be a woman, and don't let that happen. If it's getting bad where it's out of control, go get help. Do something about it. That's what the police and the court system is here for. And don't be afraid to do it. Now, Tom Davis, how long you been doing music?
Oh, wow. I think I started playing drums and guitar when I was 12. I've had a series of bands. When I got into the world of work, especially law enforcement, I would still play guitar, but very intermittently. And then when I finally retired from Boeing, and this was after I had hip replacement that resulted in a pulmonary embolism. When I was recuperating at home, I thought, what is the one thing you've always really wanted to do? You've always really wanted to create music and find someone to create it with. So I formed a band in, it was actually early 2016. The name of it was Daddy Warbucks, and it included Richard Dean, who used to be the keyboard player with Moby Grape, and in his high school years, I think he actually played with John Fogerty. And I had Corey Fish, who is our current percussionist, and another gentleman by the name of George Schopplein, who was a guitar player. And we were the ones that knocked out that song. I did that just for the fun of it. I sent that to you for Friday the 13th because I thought you'd get a kick out of it. Called Jake the Maggot.
You know what? I played it, and if you don't mind, I like to play it ever so often because the people loved it.
That's great. That's for you, and we never released that because we just kind of did that for a fun thing to do. So if your audience likes it and you like it, hey, have at it. I'm glad you enjoy it.
Well, I enjoyed it, but a lot of the truckers sure did. I can tell you that. I had a lot of truckers said, hey, where can we buy this?
Well, I got a question for you. Is it, we discussed a little Christmas present I wanted to present to your truckers, or do you want to wait till the end of the show to talk about that?
Well, I think it'd be really nice of you, and, I can, get a hold of you later in the week, and we can set it up and figure out how to do it. Okay. A lot of the truckers, how they do it, they a lot of them, because we're on stations, but we're not, I can't understand, we're not on any in this state of Washington. We're in Idaho, we're in California, we're in Montana, and places like that. But the thing is...
That's because they're more enlightened states. What can
yeah, they are. More trucker-friendly, maybe. But the thing is, they download the show, and then they play it. Bluetooth has been a godsend, so they can sit there and play it, off their phone into, because they download it, and then they can play it into their stereo system in their truck, and they're sitting there listening to it at night, and they love it. So we got to figure out a way that would work for them. So we got to figure that one out.
Okay, well, one thing, I know that this time of year, everybody's broke, and I really get that. So anybody out there listening, if you want to listen to our music free, you can go to YouTube, and I think they have three or four different sets of our songs up there, but it's all free. It's the holiday season, and in the spirit of giving, go and I know a lot of people are broke. You can listen to it for free. So,
well,
that helps.
I think they're going to be a lot broker, and they're not going to realize it here in about 6 months.
Yeah, unfortunately. I think there's some things on the horizon that we can discuss another time. But, it's going to get real interesting.
Well, this is one time, if they are aliens and they don't eat brains that have much in them, I think they need to, if they are abducting people and doing human mutilations, they should do it over Washington, D.C.
I totally agree. I think this dog and pony show, and that's my opinion of what's going on, is wasting an awful lot of the taxpayers' money, time, patience. We have far, far more important things that we could be doing. We're spending $1.5 billion a week in the Middle East. You could take $2 billion, and you could totally shore up our grid. And if we have an EMP from the sun, 90% of the grid in the United States will be wiped out in a second. Or if someone exploded a nuke in the middle of North America, say 300 miles up, your grid system is down. You don't have running gasoline, running water. 90% of all the life that we know in this country would be dead within 1 year. You would have total mayhem in under 3 hours in this country.
Oh yeah.
And the thing, it's excuse my vernacular, but I mean, it's enough to piss the Pope off. When you think of all the resources that are being wasted, and people are in D.C. are not addressing problems like that, and I could name, a dozen others, but I'm not going to waste, your airtime with that. The point is that this is ridiculous. It's not, it's very self-serving. It's not doing anything for the average American citizen. And, if the aliens want to come in and, go for a no-brain diet, yeah, you're right. They should start in D.C.
Well, what really scares me is people are in denial in the government, or at least some of them. We have earth changes going on. The grid system, you're right. FEMA had a report saying that what would happen, it would take up to 10 years to get the grid system up again. We don't build the transformers in our country. They're made in India. They're all handmade because of our laws. The oil is used in it. It's very toxic. And so we don't even deal with it in this country anymore. We offshoot it to India. They build them as we need them type. Your power company you have has enough transformers to service normal usage, outage type of situation, not major. Now, you're not just talking about your power. If you have a 1957 Chevy, for example, you're going to still drive around for a while till you can't get gas or it goes stale.
Yeah, because the computer system won't be fried.
Yeah, anything newer, then probably in the late 70s, you're going to have issues where it's not going to start. Anything with a solid state ignition, that's it. It's toast. Hospitals, it's going to be a scary situation. Not just the grid system, asteroids. It's funny. 2 years ago, you hardly ever heard about an asteroid coming near a miss of Earth. Now it's like a couple times a week. We need to spend money more for we can actually have these, where we can see them and catalog more of them. And maybe know when the major one is going to come. We don't even know. We only know a lot of times when they come by. A very little warning. It's scary. And we got that going, and I don't even trust them as it is, because I remember a month ago, it was supposed to go by Earth and be between the Earth and the moon, and it said it would not hit, landed in the Mediterranean. What's that tell you? I mean, it's scary. Well,
that reminds me of a joke that the guy told me about the fellow that died and he ends up in hell, and Lucifer's talking to him, and he says, "I want to talk to my congressman." And he said, "No problem, we got plenty of them here."
Oh yeah, senators and presidents too. But it's scary. So here we're and you were in Border Patrol. Seriously, I watched a video last week of a person coming from Mexico into our country, just going up the wall like nothing. They figured out how to do it, and if
there are tunnels that they discover every now and then that have been there for years, and I know it, you know it. You can drive a Mack truck through them. I mean, it's the truth, and you talk to anybody, and I'm including any of my former fellow Border Patrol agents, and they will tell you when you get on the southern border, and I've said this before, it's literally impossible to build a wall across the southern border because you have areas that look like the Grand Canyon. Now, you tell me you're going to build a wall on something like that. You can't do it. Yeah, maybe electronically or with drones you could do it, but you can't do it with a wall. And I mean, I'll put it this way. I like a lot of the stuff that President Trump has attempted to do. I don't diss the man. He's the president of the United States, and having been responsible for protecting people like that in my past, I support the office. But sometimes there are things that he says and does that I kind of roll my eyes and go, "What?"
I just think all the money it's been dumped in to build the wall, and what he wants to dump in would help with our grid system. It would help. I mean, that's the issue I have. I'm looking at my grandkids. I know I don't have much time left at 60, going on 68, but I know my grandkids. I want them to have a nice place to live. The way it's going, it isn't going to be there.
Was it Elmendorf Air Force Base that needed a new boiler system?
Alaska.
And they couldn't build it because the money that had been allocated to the Elmendorf boiler system got reallocated to the wall. I think you know about that. That
was in Alaska, yeah, and that's scary too because we do have the Russians that like coming close to or into our airspaces to test us. And
all the time.
Yeah, and if that base has to shut down because their boiler all of a sudden, goes out, then we got another problem because it's going to take longer for, the jets to come and intercept.
Well, you and I are both, having prior military service, I support the men and women that serve. I am very supportive, and I'll put it this way, with all due respect to the president, if it comes to a choice between force personnel and a new boiler system to keep their people warm and safe, and, building a wall that you can't really build across the entire southern border, you can't do it. Hey, give them the money for the boiler system. Come on. Be reasonable about this.
Well, then are we going to build a wall again around Canada from here?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. It's just, it's crazy. I don't know. He's obsessed with it. I voted for Trump, but I have my reservations at this point. And not just that, I am really not happy with Democrats or Republicans at this point. They're both sides are childish, and I thought that they were elected for their, for us, the people of the United States. It seems like they forgot that.
When I wrote that political satire, Harpies, that was aimed at politicians on both sides of the aisle that are, I'll put it this way, do not have the best interests of the American people at heart.
No, they're more worried about being reelected. That's the whole problem right now. Is I hate to say it, there's a group of them are scared to step up and say what they feel because they know if they do, they won't be reelected, and that's their life.
Well, when I look at their track records, I can guarantee you that I'm not going to vote for them. I mean, I think that's what the electorate needs to do is basically take a look at what they're not doing, being tied up with this dog and pony show, and that's exactly what it is in D.C. And, vote. Hey, if there's any independents out there that are thinking about running, and you know what you're doing,